Alrighty. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the San Anselmo Library's virtual program today. Drought is here, Marin Water Talks Conversation. I'm Sariana. I'm the Adult Services Librarian at the San Anselmo Library. And before we begin, I'd like to thank the Friends of the Library and the Library Parcel Tax for sponsoring this program and all of our library programs. Everyone will remain muted until the end of the presentation. If you have a question, please type it into the chat box and Lucy will answer all questions at the end of her presentation. And technology can be very fickle, and I want to thank you all in advance for your patience and understanding during this program. We are recording this program today, so if you miss anything, I will send out the recording to everyone who registered later today. Our speaker today is Lucy Croy. Lucy is the Water Quality Manager for Marin Water, and she's also helping manage the drought response. She grew up in Marin and has been working for Marin Water for the past 6 years. Please join me in welcoming Lucy Croy. Woo, yay.
Thank you, Sariana. Thank you. Today, sorry, I just muted myself. I am going to show my screen and start a presentation. So my name is Lucy Croy, and I'm the Water Quality Manager, as Sariana mentioned, and have been helping manage our drought response over the past few months. And today, I'll be giving an overview of our efforts regarding the drought and some programs that we have in place for our customers. So I'll be giving an overview of Marin Water, giving a snapshot of our current water supply as of the middle of June, giving a little overview of our water use restrictions and conservation tips to make those restrictions a little bit easier. And then at the end, going through some of the incentives and programs that the district has in place in order to help you achieve some of the restrictions that we've put in place. So a bit of background on Marin Water. We are California's oldest municipal water district, chartered in 1912. And we serve about 191,000 people in central and southern Marin. Not only do we provide drinking water to our customers, but we also are responsible for protecting and preserving nearly 22,000 acres of watershed up on Mount Tam, as well as in West Marin towards Nicasio. And that's really reflected in our mission, which is to manage our natural resources in a sustainable manner, as well as providing reliable, high quality water at a reasonable price. So a bit more about our water. It's 100% locally sourced. 75% of it is from Mount Tam and West Marin. And then 25% of it comes from Sonoma County from the Russian River water system that we import. So 75% of it is really from the Mount Tam and Nicasio watersheds. If you go out and hike out there, you'll see some of those beautiful reservoirs, and it really only takes about 24 hours for that water to go from those reservoirs to your tap. And along the way, it's tested and treated and monitored to make sure that it remains high quality at a very reasonable price. So why am I here today? It's really about the water supply conditions, and that's really reflective of the last two winters, which were very dry winters. So 2020 was our second driest year in nearly 90 years. And over the last 16 months, the amount of rainfall we've received is the lowest on record in more than 140 years of records that we've had. So right now where we sit is about 45% of our total capacity. And this is quite a bit lower than what we would expect as of average for this time of year. So on average, we would be closer to 85% full, and right now we're at 45%. And going into the summer months, we expect that we won't get much rainfall until maybe September, October at the earliest. So looking ahead at projections, we've started to think about, what are different scenarios that we could be entering, given different rainfall patterns and looking at the hydrology that we've had over the last couple of years. So on the left-hand side over here is what our reservoir storage has looked like over the last year and a half. So almost nearly full at the beginning of January 2020. And now going into June, just below half full. And then looking ahead, if we were to receive about 50% of normal rainfall, that would bring us down to just around 10,000 acre feet, which is the unit that we use for storage, reservoir storage. This green line up here is average rainfall. So, based on historical averages, what we've seen with rainfall and the runoff, we would be closer, going up towards 50,000 acre feet next spring. And really the takeaway from this chart is this solid blue line, which is the impact of conservation. So if we're able to achieve the 40% conservation target that we've put out there, that can have a marketed increase on our amount of storage in our reservoirs, and keep us in a safer zone above 30,000 acre feet going into the next winter, depending on how much rainfall we get. So this is just another way of looking at some of the stats I've put out there. So as I mentioned, over the last year, 2 years really, we've had very small amount of rain. And this is reflected, up here is our average, so 52 inches. This is that Lake Lagunitas up on the watershed. So in nearly 140 years, our average is around 52 inches. And this year, we're looking at just around 20 inches total going into the end of June. And that's building off a year where in 2019 to 2020, we had around 34, 35 inches of rain, which was still below average. And for some that may remember in 1976, 77, the drought of record almost across the board within the state was 1976, 77, in which we received 24 inches. So we're still 4 inches below that record, which just goes to show the severity of the drought that we're in right now. And as I mentioned before, our storage going into the summer months is lower than we've seen in the last 40 years. So this chart is showing our storage as of June 1st. And in the last 38 to 40 years or so, since we reached the total capacity of our reservoir storage out in the watershed, this year in 2021, we're now at the lowest going in for the summer months that we've seen in 40 years, which is why we are putting out the conservation targets that we're putting out, really preparing for what the next winter could look like. So over the past few months, we've been responding to the drought in a number of ways, and really that started in early February by declaring a drought and asking our customers to voluntarily conserve water, recognizing that we were experiencing a second dry year and really didn't know how much more rain we would get February through, say, now. And unfortunately, we didn't receive much more. So going into April, we declared a water shortage emergency and adopted water use restrictions, such as the gutter flooding and no wasteful use. And then as of May 4th, that's when the additional irrigation restrictions were passed, limiting 2 days of irrigation per week. So the goal right now is to reduce our overall water use by 40%. That isn't necessarily individual. We know that there are some customers that are out there that are already, doing as little as they can, and that's not the goal for them. It's really to get the word out and talk to their neighbors. But for some that, haven't thought about drought in a while and have a way to really minimize the amount of water they're using, our goal is to really use as little as you can. So the ways that we're targeting it are in our outdoor water use, recognizing that in the summer months we see our water use nearly double, and that's largely due to irrigation. So that's why we've taken the approaches we have, which is limiting spray irrigation to 2 days per week, and drip irrigation is remaining at the limit of 3 days per week, as we've had on the books for a while. And then there's a couple number of other restrictions that we've also limited, really just to minimize the amount of water waste during this period. As we know, water is very, really need to save as much as we can in the long term. So a few other restrictions that we've put out is, fixing leaks within 48 hours, and golf courses are restricted to greens and tees. And also within the commercial side, not using potable water for dust control or construction projects, and pushing and having those users use recycled water. So that's also been a big effort on our side. So our approach has really focused on education and connecting with our customers first and foremost. We know that we can't get far without support and buy-in from our customers, and it's really important they understand why we're approaching this the way we are and have that understanding. So the ordinances also take into account variances, so exemptions for hardship or health and safety reasons. And those can be submitted as well. We know that there's circumstances out there that we may not have thought of going into the water use restrictions, and those considerations should be thought through if there's another way to approach water use more efficiently. And then as far as violations, so if you do see water waste, you can send those into to the Marin Water, and the first violation would be really a warning, a written warning. The second violation is another warning with a $25 fine, and any subsequent violations are a $250 fine. In this period, we're really, pushing out again the message that conservation is essential in California and everywhere, and recognizing that there's ways to minimize the amount of water we use in everyday practices. So turning off sprinkler systems and watering watering plants by hand, but only when necessary. Replacing lawn with water efficient landscaping. And then utilizing smart irrigation controllers that may automatically adjust to local weather conditions. So more indoor ideas are installing water use efficient fixtures and faucet aerators if you haven't already over the last few years. And then also just recognizing daily routines that make a big difference. So turning off the water when you brush your teeth, and knowing that that's water going down the drain if you don't do it, and taking shorter showers, and just understanding what your household use is, and areas where you can minimize that water waste for really the most essential use. In support of our customers, we have quite an array of programs and incentives to support achieving these savings and really, water use efficiency. So we provide free phone consultations to help find conservation programs and rebates that work best for you and your lifestyle. We also provide free shut-off nozzles and water efficient shower heads. For customers, you can reach out to our conservation department, listed here either by email or also calling. And how a lot of people have been doing it is they've been calling in, and then we'll put it out. They can come pick it up at our admin building in Corte Madera when it's convenient for you. Any of those free kind of materials, water efficient materials. We also have some incentives or rebates. So one of the big ones is converting high water use lawns to water efficient landscaping. So we've just increased this incentive from $1 per square foot to now $3 per square foot, and that's going to run through October 2021. And so that's quite an offer there to really transform long-term water use in your yard. And then another one is our Mulch Madness program, in which a local nonprofit will install mulching materials and cap overhead sprinklers for free. And then after the drought, the area would be replanted with water efficient landscaping. So a few other programs and incentives that we have are installing irrigation controllers, as I mentioned, ones that can be focused on the weather and approaching it that way. So we've got ones in which the customer pays $70 and Marin Water will cover $100. We also have a few water efficiency clothes washer rebates as well for indoor use. And then we have a gray water laundry to landscape rebate, including a webinar that we've been running at times throughout the year to educate on reuse water from your washer for irrigation, and then a discount on gray water kits after you go through the webinar and understand more about the program. And we also have rain barrel and cistern rebates for irrigation, and provide up to 50 cents per gallon of storage as well. So one of the rebates that has taken off pretty dramatically since we put it out there at the beginning of May is our Flume Rebate. This is shown over here. This is a device that would be attached to your meter out on the street. And it's just rubber banded attached, and it basically provides real-time data on how much water you're using in your household. It's pretty easy to install, I've heard. And the customer pays $50 and Marin Water will pay $115. And really it has a pretty good interface, as you can see over here, where you can see how much you're using. I think it's down to a 15-minute interval and where that water's going. A few of the rebates we've got are the hot water recirculating system rebate, as well as a pool and spa cover rebate. So I really want to emphasize that we have a number of resources available for our customers, including yard signs and brochures, and really kind of any educational materials that are needed to help continue the discussion about conserving water and connecting about that. We have updated information on about the drought on our website. That's usually where the most updated information will be, as well as on our social media accounts. And
Lucy, I'm so sorry to bother you. Could you repeat that? It cut in and out quite a bit there.
So if you have, let's see, so if you need any information about the drought or conservation, the most updated information is going to be on our website, so marinwater.org, as well as on our social media accounts. So Facebook or Instagram, I think, are the ones that are most updated. And then if you are going to report water waste, we've got water waste reports on our website listed down here. And you can also just call or email us as well. If you see any kind of gutter flooding or see someone power washing that shouldn't be power washing and wasting water. So that is the end of my presentation, and I would be happy to take any questions at this time.
Great, thank you. Does anyone have any questions? If you raise your hand, we can do more of a traditional Q&A, or you can type it into the chat box, and I'm happy to help Lucy manage the questions. You cut out a little bit on Lucy on the I want to say part of the rebate slide. Do you mind bringing that back up?
Yes. Which one?
Oh, totally blanking on it right now. If I remember, I was like, oh, I should write this down. And I didn't. I think it was like your third to last slide.
Did this one?
It's kind of.
Oops.
Just, it's not that one, sorry. You just keep scrolling up. I'm so sorry, everybody. I should have written this down. Actually, I think it was the one you just went past, the gray water one, which Ginny had a question on the gray water recycling and what does Ginny's question in the chat is, can you talk about the gray water recycling and what does the kit contain? I think this is the slide I was wanting more information on as well. So we're all on the same page.
Okay, so we actually have a webinar. Can you hear me okay now?
Yes,
Okay.
Sorry.
So we have a webinar. Usually it's about once a month or so. I can get you an updated date of when our next one will be, and that will have the most updated information, as well as a gray water kit. I'm not sure exactly what's contained in it. I don't think too many have been requested at this point, but I would advise first attending the webinar and then working on through the gray water kit, and I can put you in contact with the right person to talk with about that if you send over your email address.
Lucia, could you maybe share that information with me and I can send it to everybody who attended?
Sure.
Would that be okay?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I send a follow-up email with the recording link in it, so I like to include other things as well. That would be great.
Okay.
Thank you. Did that answer your question, Jenny? And are there any other questions? All right, I think that might be it. I'm going to stop our recording.